Good morning everyone. Welcome back to the next new lesson, chapter 18, Organization of Tissues. In previous classes and in even this year in previous lesson, so that is 70th lesson, Animal Kingdom, we had an idea about unicellular and multicellular organisms. That is, there are some organisms which are made up of just one cell, and those are called as unicellular organisms. For example, amoeba and paramecium. Apart from this, there are many examples of unicellular organisms. All bacterium are examples of unicellular organisms. Certain algae and certain fungus. For example, you might have learned yeast, an important fungus named yeast, which is involved in fermentation or anaerobic respiration, which is also an example of unicellular organism. So there we have unicellular and multicellular organisms. Those which are made up of one cell are called as unicellular organisms, and all unicellular organisms are microscopic in nature, maybe I would say, except human female egg, that is ovum which is macroscopic in nature, but still it is unicellular. Then multicellular organisms, as we have discussed in previous lesson, though all living organisms which are made up of more than one cell or which are made up of many cells are called as multicellular organisms. All plants and animals, plants which includes herbs, shrubs, trees, and all kinds of animals that we look around are all examples of multicellular organisms. So whenever an organism is multicellular in nature, mostly they are macroscopic and can be seen through naked eye, that is without any special lenses. And there are some like Hydra, which are even though multicellular, we need a microscope to observe those organisms, right? Anyhow, so multicellular organisms and unicellular organisms. And even last lesson we learned about this organization in unicellular and multicellular animals or multicellular organisms. So in unicellular we come across a acellular grade of organization, where that one particular cell, because it is made up of only one cell, and then that one particular cell is does all the functions. That one particular cell does nutrition, it undergoes excretion, it undergoes reproduction, everything is done by that particular cell. But it is not so in multicellular organisms, where the multicellular organisms, they have an organization. And we are going to learn about that particular organization of tissues, that is in tissue level. We are going to learn about this organization in this new lesson. I hope everyone loves biryani or chocolate cake, or it may be black forest or white forest, and maybe some they love ice creams. Okay. Imagine you are returning home from somewhere on that day, and on that particular day, maybe there was maybe it may be a biryani or ice cream or a superb cake in your dining table. So you wish to consume that, but unfortunately your leg is not cooperating with you to have this beautiful cake. Or on that particular day, maybe your hands are not cooperating such that you can put that cake inside your mouth. In this situation, what will happen? You cannot enjoy the cake. Not only that, not only with the legs and hands, maybe that particular day your mouth is not opening to consume that cake, or your tongue could not taste the cake, or at last if your stomach is upset, or in other words I would say, if at all, if any one of your system or your organ is not cooperating with you, which means you cannot enjoy that beautiful food, delicious food. So there comes organization by which we are able to do not only consuming a food, but we are able to do many different activities in our life. Again, in the same example, where you have the same cake or biryani or ice cream on the table, imagine if the legs are cooperating, if the hands are cooperating, if the mouth is cooperating, which means you go towards the food, you put the food in your mouth, enjoy it, swallow it. But imagine that day there was a strike of the stomach. What will happen? Whatever you enjoyed, you consumed, you swallowed, everything comes out in the form of vomit. You might have experienced vomit. You know what happens to your mouth, what happens to your tongue. So you will get spoiled. Even though you had a delicious food, the whole mouth, the whole tongue, that whole taste will be spoiled. So there comes the importance of organization. I have another example of organization. Imagine a man or a boy running to catch a ball. So let that be cricket, since it's a favorite sports of many of you people, or any other game, but let it be a game with a small ball like a cricket ball, unlike a football. Or because where if it is a small ball, you come across more concentration, more conscience. That's why I say cricket or some other game like that. Okay, so when the man or yourself, imagine yourself running to catch a ball, where you come across this organization of legs, organization of hands, organization of eyes, organization of brain, everything. Okay, so there is a cooperation or organization of legs towards the ball. Hands should be ready to catch the ball. Eyes should be keenly noticing the ball where it comes, and apart from that, brain calculates the speed of the ball, or maybe the direction of the ball and where you are, what distance you have to run. Everything it calculates and proceeds. Apart from that, you also come across a respiratory system which helps you to give energy and oxygen for running towards the ball. And maybe you come across the hormones that has to be initiated such that you run to catch the ball. So in all these examples that I have gave so far, maybe you are going towards food, or maybe running to catch a ball, where openly you come across organization. Okay, so this organization in a tissue level we are going to learn in this lesson. To start with, actually the whole world here is filled with the chemicals, so I'm going to start with chemicals. So the basic all substances are made up of the tiniest particle called as atom. So I'm going to start with atom, that is atoms, can I say, which is the tiniest particle of all matter. Whatever you take, it may be water, it may be a biscuit, or it may be a cell phone, or it may be a book or pencil or rubber. So all matters are made up of the tiniest particle called atom. So a group of atoms, they organize to form elements. Okay, so many atoms, they group together to form elements. So here wherever you come across this arrow mark in this video, which is none other than organization. Okay, so group of atoms forms elements. So I can give an example for atom, that is hydrogen H, oxygen O, or nitrogen N, or carbon C. All these are examples of atoms, and when they group to form elements, for example, O plus O gives the element O2, oxygen. Similarly, H plus H gives hydrogen, N plus N gives nitrogen. Okay, so this is how atoms group to form elements. Similarly, elements group to form molecules, that is a hydrogen element combines with an oxygen atom to form H2O. So elements, they form water. So water, so where you come across one molecule of water, two molecule of water, 10 molecules of water. Okay, so elements organize to form molecules. Atom group together to form elements. Elements organize to form molecules. So we have many molecules like water, H2O, ammonia, NH3, hydrochloric acid, HCl, C6H12O6, none other than glucose. So like that we have different molecules which are formed by different elements. So more than one elements, they form molecule. For example, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, they form glucose, which I can call it as a molecule. Similarly, hydrogen and oxygen elements, they form water, H2O. So like that, atom group to form elements, element group to form molecules. And now from chemistry I am entering into biology, that is molecules group together to form organelles. I hope you know, under cell you might have learnt, inside cell in the cytoplasm we have different organelles like endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, Golgi bodies or Golgi apparatus, ribosomes, lysosomes. All these are called as organelles, which are made up of a collection of molecules. So molecules organize to form organelles. Organelles organize themselves to form a cell. That is, a cell is made up of many organelles. Similarly, molecules made up of many elements. Elements made up of more than one atom. Okay. So again come back here. Organelles, they organize to form a cell. Cells, they organize themselves to form tissues. Tissues organize to form organs. Organs organize to form organ system. The group of organ system, we call it as organism. So this is where organization has its own significance. Okay. So again let me go to the cell level. So cell, you might have learned in 8th standard cell. Even in 9th standard you are going to learn about cell. I mean the basic structure of cell. Okay. So this is cell where you come across a group of cells with similar function. Okay. Maybe in 10th standard you'll be learning the definition of cell tissues like that. That is, group of cells with similar or dissimilar in structure but with similar function are known as tissues. This is the definition you are going to learn in 10th standard. So which means whatever you are learning now, you don't need to worry about whether it is asked in exam or not. Surely it will be helpful in your board exam or maybe in 10th standard or higher classes. Okay, this is what I say from the beginning. Okay, always I used to say don't neglect any points or don't neglect any concepts. Okay, so it will be useful somewhere in your future. Okay, so again I say tissues, that is group of cells with similar or dissimilar structure. That is, those group of cells may have similar structure or dissimilar structure. That is, with the different structure. Dissimilar means different. Okay, with the different structure, but all these have same function, and that's why we call it as tissue. Why I am stressing here more, because in this lesson we are going to learn about tissues. Okay, so group of cells with similar or dissimilar structure but with a different function are known as tissues. Okay, so actually in each and every book you have a different definitions. Okay, it's not only for tissue. Whatever concept you take, you will find different definitions in different book. So since it will be useful next year, I am following the 10th standard definition for you. Okay, this is the definition of tissues. So basically, group of cells having specialized function, they are called as tissues. Okay, so I could give some examples of tissues. Okay, so like maybe in humans. Okay, I'm not going to plants. We'll study about plants later. If I say examples of plants, maybe you will not be able to understand. Okay, so I'm going for humans or animals. Okay, so tissues, for example, skin, you call it as epithelial tissue. So not only skin, so I just said what is visible outside. We have epithelial tissue even inside our body. We have epithelial lining of tissues in our digestive system and respiratory system, etc. Okay, so basically the collection of cells which covers and helps in protection of our other organs or other tissues are called as epithelial tissue. This is what I said, specialized function or similar or dissimilar structure but same function. So in any way we can express these tissues. Similarly, muscular tissue. So what is the specialized function of muscular tissue? Which helps in locomotion or movement. That's all. So a group of cells, they have one function, that is locomotion or movement, and they are termed as muscular tissue. If it covers and protects, it is called as epithelial tissue. So like that, there is a tissue, that is a collection of cells which are involved in the transfer of messages from one part to other part of the body. What is that? Neuron, that is, which comes under nervous tissue, that is brain and spinal cord. Okay, so like that we have epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, then nervous tissue, then we have vascular tissue, vascular, which is fluid in nature, for example blood. Okay, so which involves in the transportation of various substances or circulation of various substances, so it comes under circulatory system. Then we have skeletal tissue, which is involved in the giving upright structure of our body. So like that we have a group of cells with doing a specialized function or does a particular function, and that is the importance of tissues. Okay, I hope you understand what is meant by tissue. These tissues, they form organs. Again, in humans and animals we come across tissues forming heart, group of tissues forming digestive system, stomach, group of tissues forming maybe liver or lungs. So this is called as organ. In plants, root, stem, leaves are organs which are made up of tissues. So again, I say I'm not going to say about tissues because you don't have not even a single idea about tissues. So when we learn, surely I'm going to say about tissues in plants. Okay, so group of tissues forms organs. So again I repeat, in plants, root, stem, leaf, all these are examples of organs. And these organs form organ system. For example, we have organ systems like respiratory system, digestive system, excretory system, reproductive system, where you come across various organs are there. For example, in respiratory system you have a nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchus, bronchiole, alveoli, lungs. Put together they form an organ system, that is respiratory system. Or maybe, for example, if I take digestive system, where you come across a mouth, then again esophagus, stomach, large intestine, small intestine, rectum, anus. Put together they come and they form digestive system. So let me start from the cell again. The cells organize to form tissues. Okay, I have given many examples of tissues. Tissues organize to form organs, and a group of organs form organ system, and all organ system, they organize or cooperate to form one full living organism. This is the importance of organization. Again I repeat, in this lesson we are going to learn about organization in tissue level alone. Okay, so maybe in future you may learn in organization in organ level, or you learn about organ system, or you learn about cells, etc. So but in this lesson you are going to learn about organization of tissues. Okay, right. Before entering into the next concept, I just want to make sure about two important terms, cytology and histology. The study and function of cell, I'm telling in the simple way. Okay, the study and function of cell is called as cytology. So wherever when you come across cyte, CYTE, which means it is something related to cell. Okay, for example, you come across erythrocyte, leukocyte, thrombocyte. What are these? They are none other than red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, which are found in the blood. So cyte, CYTE, which is none other than something related to cell, and here I just want to say cytology is the study of a cell or the science of cell. It can also be said the science of cell. Similarly, histology is the study of tissues, or it is the science of tissues, or it can be said as the study of structure and function of tissues. Okay, so just have a note of this, cytology and histology. Next, Let us enter into the main topic, that is, as I said before, we are going to learn the organization in tissues in plants as well as in animals. The first part will be dealt by me, and organization of tissues in animals will be dealt by Mr. John Ruben. Let me give an introduction of this. So in plants we have two types of tissues. So coming to the main core, so concentrate. In plants we have two types of tissues, that is temporary or meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. So it's in the name, temporary, that is meristematic tissues are called as temporary tissues because they which can, I can say in this order, that is they are called as undifferentiated tissues. That is these meristems actually which occurs during cell division. So when a cell divides, they divide in the form of a meristem in plants, but later on when they mature they become a permanent tissue. A meristematic tissue can transform or become or mature into any type of permanent tissue. So there are different types of permanent tissues which you are going to learn later, like collenchyma, parenchyma, sclerenchyma, xylem, phloem. Okay. So this meristematic tissue, which is not actually, I said before, undifferentiated, so it doesn't have any name at all. So these meristematic tissues have the capacity to become any type of permanent tissues. But permanent tissues, once they become a permanent tissue, once a meristematic tissue become a permanent tissue, that's all. So it cannot transform or convert into any type of tissue. That is, for example, if a meristematic tissue becomes a collenchyma, till the death of that cell, it is a collenchyma. It cannot become any other type. If a meristematic tissue becomes a xylem or phloem, till the death of that particular cell, it is xylem, it is phloem. So it cannot be transformed into any other type of meristem or permanent tissue. So I hope you understand. So these two tissues we are going to learn in this lesson. Similarly, in animals we have simple tissues and compound tissues. So I don't want to go into that. So just to have an idea, so that is in plants we have meristematic and permanent tissues. In animals we have simple tissues and compound tissues. So I just want to concentrate only on the plants. Again, with regard to this meristem, there are three types of meristem based on its location or based on its position: apical meristem, lateral meristem, and intercalary meristem. Apical meristem, which enhances the growth of the apical end of a shoot or root. Apical means terminal end. Lateral meristem, which enhances the girth or width of a shoot system. So a plant is thick in its shoot system, it is because of the lateral meristem. And at last intercalary meristem, which actually enhances the internodes of a shoot system. What is an internode? The space between two nodes is called a internode. And what is a node? If you look into a plant, you come across the site from which a shoot, that is a leaf or a branch or some other arises. That region is actually called as node. So if you look into this photo or still, where you come across a site from where a leaf arises. Similarly, you come across arisal of branches. So this region is called as node. And again, if you look into this slide, you have a space in between two nodes. Again, I repeat, the site, SITE, okay, the site from where a leaf or a branch arises is called as node, and the space between two nodes is called as internode. Okay, so you can find this in sugarcane, where you find ring shaped structures, and those are called as nodes, from where you come across adventitious roots arising, and the space between those two nodes are called as internodes. Okay. So usually we prefer in sugarcane, so just for understanding I am saying, in sugarcane usually we prefer a long internodal sugarcane rather than a short internodal sugarcane. I hope you can understand this concept. Okay, if the internode is small, for every few time duration you will come across a node. In sugarcane, you know, node will be harder compared to internode. Okay, so every people will be preferring a long internode in sugarcane than a short internode. I hope you understand this concept. Okay, now we are going to see this apical bud. Okay, so like that, like how you come across apical bud in the shoot system, you also come across this apical that is apical meristem in the root system also. I repeat again, three types of meristem. Apical meristem, which is responsible for the elongation of root and shoot tip of root and tip of stem. Similarly, we have lateral meristem, which enhances the girth or width of the plant. Okay, so in case of large trees, you come across this because large bark of the tree or the trunk of the tree, which is because of lateral meristem. And third, intercalary meristem, which is responsible for the internodal elongation of the stem. So keep this in mind. Based on this, you are going to learn certain topics in 10th standard. Okay. The word meristem was derived from the Greek word meristos, which means divisible or the ability of the cell to divide. Ability of the cell to divide is actually named as meristos in Greek. There are various characteristics of a meristem. First of all, they are living cells. All cells are living. There are certain cells which are non-living. We'll study later. So here all meristems, it may be apical or intercalary or lateral meristem, they are living cells. They are small cells because actually these meristem are produced by during cell division. So automatically they should be small. Okay, they will be small. Shape may be oval, polygonal or round in shape. The shape of the meristem may be oval, polygonal or round in shape. They have a thin wall. They have dense cytoplasm, that is they have more amount of cytoplasm, and they have a large nuclei and a small vacuole. So this is something different from other plant cells, because plant cells they have a large vacuole compared to animal cells. Only animal cells have small vacuole, but all meristems they have a small vacuole. So again I repeat, thin walled, dense cytoplasm, large nuclei and a small vacuole. Generally all vegetative cells undergo mitosis. Similarly here meristem undergo mitosis. Only gametes you come across meiosis process. So here you come across mitosis like all other vegetative cell, which means this is also a vegetative cell. And they are not involved in storage of food, because later we are going to learn certain permanent tissues which are involved in the storage of food materials. But here meristems they don't store food. Okay, so with that, with this we'll stop today's session. Let me continue in the next session. We'll meet you later. Thank you.